I I'm a avid watcher of HGTV, and I like watching Love It or Listed and Flip or Flop, and all of these programs pretty much have the same central theme. They are renovating or they are rehabbing houses or they are restoring. And so one particular episode I watch, sometimes they'll go into a house, and especially when it's an older house, they are really looking to restore as much as they can. And what that means is sometimes people have laid carpet over top of original hardwood floors. Now, the material of older houses is different from the material of houses today. Same way with cars. The material of the older houses is more solid and more stable material. And so when they go into these older houses, sometimes it's wood and different things that they want to keep. So what they do is they go in and restore it. They'll pull up the carpet. They'll sand those floors, put a fresh stain on it. Sometimes there's a wall where they have put paneling or something, and they'll go a sheetrock over the wall, and sometimes they'll remove a piece to see if, I forgot what that wood is called, but it's like a vertical like wood, to see if that wood is behind it, because they want to restore the house to its original place. Then there are times where they will rehab or renovate. That's when they go in and they will tear out things and replace it, or they'll upgrade. They'll put in new light fixtures. They'll put in new counters or new cabinets. They'll put in new flooring, whatever they got to do. Sometimes they'll tear a whole, I've seen them tear the kitchen out and move the kitchen, relocate the kitchen to a whole nother part of the house and turn what was the kitchen into something different. They will renovate. But one episode I saw, they bought this house with the intentions of renovating, of rehabbing it. And after they bought it, and the inspectors was looking, and they were looking at stuff, and they began doing some digging and stuff, he came back and told him, he says, we're going to have to tear this house down and start from scratch. They were in shock. They said, what? No way, we're not tearing this house down. He says, it will cost you more to try to renovate what you have, to try to keep what you have, than it would to tear it down and to start over. Please catch this message up in here. I might have to stop right here and we just pick it up next week. He said it will cost you more because he took them in the house for one thing. He put a ball on the ground, and when he put the ball on the ground started rolling because the house was slanted. There was cracks and stuff on the wall. But when he took them outside, the big problem, well, one of the big problems was the ground that the foundation was built on was not solid ground. Ooh, please catch me. The ground that the foundation, see, we're most of the time concerned with the foundation being solid, but we forget that the foundation has to sit on the ground. And the ground, the dirt, I forgot what they said, but it was something wrong with the dirt. So with all of the problems, they said that it's best for us to tear everything down. Then they brought in some new dirt. And when they brought in the new dirt, they had to pack it and mix it to get the ground solid in order to be able to start a foundation. I came for a few minutes just to let somebody know that what you're trying to fight with and what you're trying to keep, there's nothing there to restore. There's nothing there to renovate because the ground is unstable. The ground is messed up. And see, you keep going back to it, trying to fix it. And watch this. You changing out lights, but changing out the lights ain't going to help because the ground is unstable. It does not have a solid foundation. That relationship wasn't built on good ground. That relationship does not have a good foundation. So no matter what rehab, you can change and put lights up and make it look pretty. But guess what? It's still going to keep sinking. One side of the house was sinking. It was cracks all on the wall from things pulling apart. And guess what? It's going to keep pulling apart because it never had a foundation in the first place. You trying to restore, but there's nothing there to restore. They only do restoration when they find things worth restoring. When there are things that ain't worth restoring, they tear it out. Why are you trying to restore stuff that ain't worth saving? You're trying to save relationships that ain't worth saving. You're trying to save people. It ain't worth saving. God says, I got better for you. But before we can start building something new, we've got to tear this down. And we got to get your ground together, because some of us don't realize you're not even ready for nothing new. And I'm not even just talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about friendships too. Some of us are not ready because your ground, your heart ain't right. You stubborn, you're rebellious, you got hurt, you got issues, you got pain, you got things that you're dealing with. And until you get your ground together, anything you try to build on it is going to be lopsided. Anything you try to build on it is going to pull apart because your ground is not together. And then what about when your ground is messed up and their ground messed up and we trying to come together? You can't restore something that ain't worth restoring. And you can't renovate something, please catch this. You can't renovate something that ain't there. I'm going to say it again because I'm going to have to explain it to you for you to catch it. You cannot renovate or rehab something that ain't there. I need you to say to yourself, explain it to my pastor. I am. Sometimes what's in your mind about it and what's actually there is two different things. And sometimes in your mind, you think that it's something that ain't nothing there. You might love them, but they don't love you. Ain't nothing there. And so they there for the benefit. They there for what they get out of it. And so you keep trying to rehab, you keep trying to renovate it, but it ain't nothing there to renovate. In order for them to rehab, there first had to be a solid structure. If they go into the house and the foundation is solid and there's a solid structure, then they will rehab, they'll renovate, they'll tear down walls, they'll do that kind of stuff. But guess what? If some of us, if we'll look at what you had, if there never was a solid foundation, it was always messed up. And God says, I got something new for you. I got something better for you. But we can't start building until you're willing to tear up what you keep playing with. Till you willing to tear up what you keep holding on to for security, which is really a false sense of security because it ain't nothing there anyway. So God said, I already got the blueprint. I got the plans drawn up to give you something new. But I can't build a new house on an existing house. you first got to demo it. You got to tear down what's been built, and then we got to work your ground. We got to get rid of the stuff that's in your heart now from what you went through. I hope I'm talking good to somebody. I got 10 minutes. Go with me real quick. Father, help me do this in 10 minutes. Go with me real quick to Matthew's gospel. I wanted to deal with this whole story, but for the sake of time, I'm going to jump to, where's the verse that I want? I'm going to jump to verse number 24. If you got your Bible, turn there real quick. Matthew's Gospel, chapter number 13, verse number 24. See, there's a price of disobedience. See, some of us are in relationships, you in friendships, you doing things that God already instructed you it's not good for you. That God have already instructed you that ain't for you. But your disobedience is about to cost you. Some of us, somebody watching, God instructed you that it's time for you to stop watching church, and it's time for you to actually really become the church. In other words, he's saying it's time for you to get serious about your relationship with him, but you keep being disobedient. How long is God going to allow you to get away with being disobedient before there is penalty? How long? I tell people in relationships, sometimes you get to a point in a relationship, whether it's a friendship or whatever, that the person is no longer the problem and no longer to blame. Because if they've showed you who they are and you choose to stay, then they're not the problem. Stop posting on Facebook, stop doing all that stuff. For what? You keep going back to it. So why am I mad? If I'm going to be there, shut up and be there. But if I'm not, then do something about it besides post. Because when I post, about the third time of posting and going back and forth, you start looking crazy. You start looking bipolar. So watch this. Verse number 24 says, another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares amongst the wheat and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servant of the household came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in the field? And if so, where these tares come from? He said unto them, an enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, nay, lest while you gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow until the harvest. And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. My last point I want to make today, we're going to have to tackle this because I skipped over a lot, so we're really going to have to go back and probably tackle this maybe next week or something. But my last point today is let it burn. Let it burn. Let it burn. Somebody need to type that. Let it burn. Here in this particular story, Jesus is giving a parable of the kingdom of heaven. We don't have time to deal with that portion of it, but I do want us to catch an application out of this particular part. And it says that a man went forth in his field and he sowed good seed. So the seed was not the problem. What was sowed was good seed, but it says that while he slept, an enemy came and sowed tares amongst the wheat. My question to you is this: do you really know who your enemy is? Do you really know who your enemy is? I hate to be the one to have to give you this revelation, but this revelation is from the Lord, and the Lord said to let somebody know that the person you calling friend is actually your enemy. The person that you calling boo is actually your enemy. The person that you calling your BFF is actually your enemy. Because the Lord says that, I don't know who this is for, but the Lord said that your insecurity actually came from the person that you call friend. Because they question things about you, or made mention of how this look on you and how that look on you and different things. And so your self-consciousness was planted by somebody you call friend, and you don't realize that that was the enemy sowing insecurity, using them to sow that insecurity into your life. Now you have issues and stuff about yourself, and you don't even realize it came from somebody you called a friend. I know I'm talking good. I know I'm talking good. It came from somebody you said was your BFF, and you didn't have those issues until they start pointing out stuff, and it wasn't even nothing wrong with it. They were just being funny or trying to keep you in your place, because you ain't better than me. You don't look better than me. Your outfit ain't nicer than mine. And so because of what was going on in them, the enemy planted them in your life for the purpose of planning tear, insecurity, planning low self-esteem, because through these different things, now you have self-esteem problems. And guess what? Because you don't recognize it, you still call them friend. And don't even realize your problem came. Boy, this is good right here. Your problem came from somebody you call friend. You call them friend. You talk to them on the phone, but they planted the insecurity in your life. They planted the issues that you deal with about yourself. They planted it in your life. And so you first have to be able to identify your enemy. And so the Lord gave me this message at the end of this year so that you can go through your life and make sure you don't have some people in your life that you call them friends, but they really your enemy. And then when I identify that they're an enemy, am I going to start trying to make excuses so I can keep them around? Or am I going to be willing to tear the house down so that God can give me new and real friends? Because God says, I will not build on this bad foundation. And that's the problem even with boos. You know the boo you got ain't no good, but you want to hold on to one but want God to send you another one. And God said it don't work like that. You got to tear this down. Then we got to uproot. See, here's the problem. You want to know why you keep going back even when you think you're done? I told y'all about my buddy, the old man, who's in the relationship. And he swear up and down he done. I mean, to the point where he trying to argue me down. And I stood my ground and said, no, you not. And guess what? Every time he go back. You know how I knew he won't done? Because, see, you're not done just because you got mad. Don't mean you done. You ain't done just because you got an attitude and they made you mad. You ain't done because you ain't like what they did and now I'm finished with them. You ain't done because you posted on Facebook. You You ain't done till you done dealt with the roots that was planted down on the inside. See, you only deal with the external, getting rid of what's visible. I get rid of her, I get rid of him, and I'm done. But with a tree, you could cut. We got a tree outside the church, and right by there's a little bush, but it grows pretty big. And I don't want to say that part yet. So we cut the tree down. But every few years or so, we look, and that tree is coming back up. Why is the tree coming back up? Because we can chop the tree down all we want to. But until we get down there and dig up the roots, it's going to keep coming back up. And that's the same way with your relationship. You want to be done, you just don't want to deal with the root yet. The root is what's on the inside of you. You just deal with the external problem. I'll get rid of them. But that don't last too long, because first you go from, I don't ever want to see them again, I don't care what happened, to, well, I miss them, but I don't want to see them, to, well, I don't want to be with them, but we can be friends. And we go through that whole cycle till you right back in the same place, because the root is still on the inside. And as long as the root is on the inside, the tree is going to keep growing. But here is what I wanted to say. The reason we cut the tree down was because the tree kept attracting mosquitoes and bugs. You ain't get it, did you? See, you keep bringing the tree back, but you know the tree ain't no good. It keep biting you. You keep getting bumps. You keep breaking out. And you will cut the tree down, but because you don't root it up, it just grow back. And the next thing you know, you back with lumps. The tare. Oh God, it's 4 o'clock. The tare says the enemy came, he sowed wheat. He sowed tare among the wheat. Now tare is actually weeds. So it's actually called the darno seed. And it looks exactly like wheat in the beginning stages of its growth. But after it grows a little more, it becomes evident that it is a weed, and it actually uproots the wheat. Watch this. It looked like your husband. It looked like your wife. It looked like the right place. But after a while, it becomes evident that it's not wheat. It's a tare. It's a weed. The question is, what do I do, or what did I do when I discovered that this was a weed? Was I willing to get rid of it? See, throwing it in the fire means it's over. Because when you put something in the fire and let it burn up, it ain't coming back. And this is what they would do. When they took the tare up, they would throw it in the fire and burn it up. You cut it off, but you don't uproot it, and you don't throw it in the fire. Why? Because I ain't sure that I want to let go of the weed. I know it's a weed. It can't produce nothing good. Watch this. Catch this, please, please, please catch this. The tare, the seeds of the tare was also poisonous. So you in a poisonous relationship, but I still won't uproot it. I still won't let it go. I'll cut it down every once in a while, but I ain't throwing it in the fire, and I ain't uprooting it.